Welcome to the 4 Mile Circus podcast. 4 Mile Circus is a media services company in Brooklyn, New York. And on our podcast, what do we do on our podcast, Nicole? Do we talk to clowns?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. I feel like we talk to other people in media about their experiences with promoting and funding their projects. Is that accurate? Would you say that's accurate?
I would say that's a fair assessment.
It's a fair assessment. Good. It's very hot this week.
Yes, and
it's
we have
hot and muggy, and we don't have much of a fan on because it's
audio
recording. So my brain's a little fried from that.
Well, hopefully our guest will be a little sharper.
Oh, do we have a guest?
Yeah,
but there's no one else in the room with us.
I know, but through the magic of the internet and Skype, we have made a connection to somebody in a different location.
What is an internet?
That's a much bigger question.
That's a much bigger question we can't deal with right now.
We can't deal with that today, Sean. But we can deal with Michael Anderson, who is an actor and filmmaker with numerous shorts under his belt, including The Colors of Perception. And he wrote, produced, directed, and starred in the upcoming World War II short Major Key, which is about a U.S. soldier behind enemy lines who falls in love with a German woman. And we are going to talk to him about that today, Sean, as opposed to clowns. Sorry to disappoint.
You suck.
I know. I do suck. But hi, Michael. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi. Thanks for having me today. It's a pleasure.
Fantastic. I should perhaps say don't speak so soon. You don't know yet what it's like to talk to us.
Well, I mean, you started with clowns, so we're already on a good start.
Oh, perfect. So we didn't scare you away.
Yeah.
Great. So, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do, Michael Anderson?
Yeah. Well, I am, as you said, an actor and a filmmaker. I'm based in Staten Island, New York. The tiny little borough. And along with my company, we write, direct, produce, and act in our own short films and occasionally films that almost hit feature length, which is our next goal down the line. So, we're a small team of indie filmmakers based out of Staten Island, New York. So that is who I am. That is what I do.
Awesome. How many other filmmakers do you have in your production company?
Well, I would say there's a solid group of 5 of us that we're like the heads of the company. So 4 or 5, and then we have our crew, which, we have people that are boom operators and slate operators and people that aren't involved so much on the filmmaking aspect rather than helping their friends out with, making a dream come true kind of thing.
Sure. Yeah. It's called Purple Cloud, right? Am I remembering that correctly?
That is correct.
Cool.
Purple Cloud.
And so are you guys like friends who have known each other for a while and decided to kind of come together to support each other's work? Or did you meet each other through trying to form this kind of company? Or how did that come to pass?
Well, 3 years at this point, right? It's 2017, so 3 years ago, I met my partner in crime, Matt Provenzano. He is the director of photography for most of the work that we do, including my movie, Major Key, and The Colors of Perception. And we met on set of another project that I was writing at the time. It was a web series that I had reached out to some friends and said, hey, can you get a cameraman? Is there somebody we can find that could shoot this for us? And I met my partner through that, and from that point forward, we developed a working relationship where we had the same ideals and the same vision for certain things. So we were like, we have to do something with this. We can't just let this sit here and not grow. So through that, we made Purple Cloud.
Very cool.
Why is the cloud purple?
Very simple. It is our 2 favorite colors, and a cloud. When we were thinking of what to name the company, we were trying to think back to the big ones like Universal and Paramount, and they're these huge companies that they kind of they have this looming universal godly thing about them that they oversee everything, and you look up and you see clouds, and that there's this bigger vision to it. So it became our favorite color mixed with cloud, and it's simple, and it's not so, I don't think it's so heavy to hear or say kind of thing. It's kind of lighthearted.
Totally, totally. And it also very subtly evokes Prince, which is always a good thing in my book for any endeavor whatsoever.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Does your purple cloud, does it purple rain?
Does it purple? Well,
does your purple cloud purple rain?
This is what Sean does in interviews.
I'm diving deep.
Into the derailment.
Into the derailment, that's what I do.
Well, to answer your question, it rained purple rain when we were trying to create a moving logo at the start of a film. When logos appear and who it's produced by, who it's made by. And that was the original idea, but the rain just looked a little too cheesy. As much as I love Purple Rain, don't get me wrong.
Of course. Goes without saying.
But it does not, unfortunately, Purple Rain anymore. Sorry, Sean.
Yeah, you may have ruined Sean's day, so.
No, I woke up, it was ruined then.
So moving on, a question we always like to ask people here on the 4 Mile Circus is about social media, because I assume as an independent filmmaker, you probably have to contend with social media to some degree for promotional purposes and building your audience and all of that kind of business. And so we always like to ask people, what are your favorite and least favorite social media platforms and why? If you wouldn't mind sharing that information with us.
Well, it goes without saying that it is very difficult as an independent filmmaker to balance everything. As much as I try, it's very difficult. So the easiest for me wasn't what I thought it would be. I have an account separately for Purple Cloud and for my upcoming film Major Key on Instagram, and I thought that would be kind of what laid low and wasn't getting as much of a following, and those are the two things that did really well for us. The bane of my existence is Facebook, liking Facebook pages, because you send invites and nobody looks at them, and you don't check it for months on end, and then you see, you're going through your event pages and things like that, and you're like, oh, there's this, there's that. So for me, my least favorite one would be Facebook, and I think the best platform for us is Instagram, and Twitter is in between, because it's hard to get followers when you're friends with people that are not really on social media as it is. So we kind of laid low until we formed the company with social media.
Yeah, I think Facebook is the bane of a lot of people's existences, I have to say. Like, it's definitely my least favorite of the big three as well, because it's just, like you said, it's not as easy to get people's attention anymore with invites to like pages, and even if they do like the pages, the organic reach on Facebook is so poor at this point for pages that people don't see your content anyway, whereas I'm interested why you like Instagram the best, because, I think Sean and I have found that there's a kind of obvious affinity there, because if you're working in film, that's a visual medium. Instagram is the most visual of the big three platforms, in that it's the best place where the whole point is basically showcasing images. So that's been certainly useful for us in terms of sharing a lot of BTS and stills from films and obviously promotional materials and all of that. And I'm wondering what you like about Instagram, which may be the same or may be entirely different.
It's more or less on the same wavelength there. It's that it's a visual medium, and when you're sharing pictures of people dressed in World War II gear, that's a really cool thing to see. And, you hashtag World War II. And that's the great thing about Instagram, is the hashtags really, really help. You go online and you look up what's trending that week and what might be related to the things that you're trying to push out there. And you start using those hashtags accompanied with whatever individual ones you want to create. So I always put in any picture I put up, even if it's not involved in my films, but involved in a play that I'm doing or something, I put Purple Cloud NY, and I put Purple Cloud because there has become so much traction behind, I guess, the color purple and purple clouds that we get followers just by a specific hashtag. So that's one of the things that I love most about Instagram is that, there's a really big outreach, and people's attention span has gotten less and less focused over the years. And, visually, you can look at something, tap it twice, and like it. Or, you can look at something, go to a page, and like it immediately. It's not something that you need to sit through and examine and watch, 5 minutes of to get to the point. So that's why I think Instagram is the best form of social media for filmmakers and especially photographers.
Yeah, I think that definitely is resonating with Sean and myself as well. And you're right on about the hashtags because, on Instagram, it's great. You can just throw on 30 hashtags,
I like to add Fitspo to everything because those fitness people love everything.
That's true. You got to add fit somewhere.
Yeah, Fitspo. And so it's just my fat ass there, and then it's Fitspo, and they're like, I mean, I don't agree, but I have to like it because he tagged it Fitspo. So
there's a little tip.
Little tip. Fitness people. They're too busy working out.
So you were talking about, sharing World War II, people, photos of people dressed up in World War II costumes and everything, which I can see being great Instagram content. And that kind of leads into the next thing that we were curious to talk to you about, which is, so Major Key is this World War II drama, and we were wondering what attracted you to that setting and also that particular story for a short film.
Well, ever since I was 11 years old, I wanted to write a movie that was based around World War II. And that's because I was fascinated with history growing up, and my grandfather fought in the war, and I don't know, it was just there's so much in a war story that you can get, the raw human emotions that you don't find anywhere else really, unless you're like watching Daniel Day-Lewis do something. It's very difficult to get a story so deep and palpable and relatable when you're in this bubble. And in war, it opens up this universal thing, because the whole premise for Major Key was that in war there can still be times of peace and love, and the main plot, I guess I would say, or the main theme, is that there is a mutual admiration for jazz music. And as we all know, the world is unified by music in some way or another. There's music no matter where you are on this earth, kind of thing. And I think that's what really gathers people together. So I wanted to take this idea of war and a specific story, but make it relatable to everybody with bringing in music. And whether you like jazz or not, it's still a human connection when it comes to music. So that's really what made me want to write this story. And also just because, who doesn't like a good war movie?
Sure. So did you choose World War II specifically kind of driven by the jazz being the kind of unifying form of music that you were interested in exploring in terms of like time period, that being a more popular pop form of music, in the 1940s than it is today? Was that kind of the logic behind choosing World War II as opposed to World War I or the Vietnam War or one of the Iraq wars or, any other war?
Yeah. I wanted to go with jazz because, not only do I love jazz and big band music, but during the war, actually in Germany, they tried to ban music in certain places, and they tried to ban German music. And that was another theme to drive the plot, is that there are these soldiers behind enemy lines in this farmhouse that they're playing music. They don't belong there to begin with. They're in the middle of a war, so it heightened everything. And it would work with other other stories based in other wars. I mean, Vietnam is, the war itself. Music drove that war too to everybody back home. You had Creedence Clearwater, and all these bands that were really describing the war in their songs. But during World War II, the music and the jazz was actually really trying to escape all signs of the war, and that's another thing that I wanted to include, was that this was the soldiers' escape from the war, even though they were in the middle of it.
So they were listening to I'm getting a little like music geeky about what you were working. So what I can't get sentences out. So what I'm trying to get to is what kind of jazz are your characters listening to? Were you saying they're listening to jazz that was created in Germany, or they're listening to U.S. jazz behind enemy lines in Germany?
Well, so the main actress, my leading lady, is in the movie. She is a piano player, and she knows some Duke Ellington songs, and that's what starts the whole jazz train throughout the film, is that there is this young German girl who knows American jazz music, and so throughout the film she's playing these piano versions of American songs on the piano. So it was everybody related. The American soldiers could relate because it was music from back home, and that there was this young girl that knew these songs.
Was that popular? Was American jazz popular in Germany at that time? Was it kind of being suppressed by, the powers that be in Germany at the time? I'm just curious about what was going on in terms of those dynamics, like if it was an illicit thing at all, or...
Well, I don't know how much they were trying to suppress American jazz at the time, but, during the war, of course, communications were a lot harder and more difficult between countries. But prior to the war, I don't know if they would have gotten American music until a few years later. Things were moving a little bit slower, at the time. There weren't, like, satellites to get, I wasn't getting British music kind of thing. So I'm not too sure if there was an affinity to search for American jazz music at the time, or if it was known. People did travel, so I'm sure there were prior to the war there were Germans that went to America and learned music, and vice versa, and it made its way back into each country.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's just interesting to me in terms of, having these, conflicts to the level of world wars, and then what's going on in terms of cultural exchange between, enemies at the same time. It's just, it's very rich and interesting. And so you directed and acted in this, and you've directed and acted in your own material before. And I'm always very impressed by directors who also are able to act, period, let alone being able to balance both of those roles in production and do both fully at the same time. I was wondering what you've learned about directing and acting by doing the two of them at the same time. And I know you've done that on at least two projects, and I assume hopefully it's, you've been picking up some tricks along the way and that's getting easier. I was wondering if you could share a little bit about that process with our listeners.
Yeah. Well, oddly enough, my degree is in acting. I am an actor first and foremost. I went to the University of the Arts in Philadelphia for acting, and I studied acting, and that's my goal. That's still my goal, is to be able to make a living as an actor. But, it is so hard today to find work that you have to make your own work. So I started to write and direct because I wasn't getting work anywhere, and it's really such a rewarding experience, as stressful as it can be and as much of a headache as it can be. It's so rewarding to be able to put yourself into your work and into your craft and go along with your actors. Because with this film in particular, and with war films, and I'm assuming with war, I can't say that I fought in a war, but I'm assuming there's a a brotherhood that's built between these soldiers that I felt even stronger because I got to step in from just being the director to also an actor with them, because I have found that there is, not always, but sometimes, a disconnect between a director and the story and the actors, because, you know, a cast is a cast and the creative team is the creative team. So being able to blend that all together was truly rewarding, and I learned so much as an actor and director, how hard it is and how fun it is and how much work really goes into making sure that everything is great, because it's very difficult to step into a scene right after, you know, yelling cut 5 minutes before for another scene. Then I have to, you know, I have to click into my 1940s character and go through the process of getting into character. So it was a lot of work, but a lot of fun, if that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely. Is it how do you manage to switch hats that quickly, to go from having that very different kind of analytical hat on that you have to have on when you're directing, and you're keeping all of these different moving parts in sync, doing what they need to be doing and making sure that you're getting what you need to get, and, you know, and then have to turn around and jump right into the middle of it and be in character and be present in the moment from this very different position, and then swap it again. I'm curious if you have any thoughts on how you just manage to do that, just what your brain needs to do, because it's so fascinating to me.
Well, I can't say that I did it well, that I switched hats well, but it's really just I'm so fortunate that I had impeccable training from the university that I went to for acting, to be able to jump into something so quickly. You know, going from the direction aspect into the acting aspect was different, but also myself as an actor, I am an analytical actor as it is, so I can kind of keep the analytics from the director's aspect and still maintain the character on the acting side, because, you know, as much as I'm in a scene and I'm in a moment, I can still focus on exactly what I need out of the scene from the director's aspect. So if I was having a scene with my leading lady and we're in a moment, and then, you know, there's a cut, I can still go back and remember what happened during that scene to be able to say, okay, this needs to change, that needs to change, we need the light here, we need that. So I guess to answer your question, I didn't switch hats so much as just have this one big hat on the entire time that I used in all aspects. Because my character himself in the film is an analytical person, so it kind of all blended really well.
That's great that you were able to kind of keep all of that, keep on top of all of that at the same time. That's definitely something that
it was
I'm
a lot.
Yeah, whenever I'm on set with someone who's acting and directing at the same time, I'm very interested in that process. And speaking of acting, you've mentioned your lead actress a few times. How did you cast the film in general? How did you find the people to bring these roles to life?
So I posted on Backstage.com because that's what I use as an actor to find work, and there is thousands, hundreds upon thousands of people that submit to any kind of work because they're hungry for work, and it's a great website. It's a great tool for artists in general. And I posted on Backstage, and I posted on Facebook, and I posted on Instagram for anybody to come out to the auditions. And I held the auditions here on Staten Island at this little dance studio, and I said to myself, nobody's going to show up. Nobody likes to get on the ferry and hop over here, and nobody wants to take the train over here. So I was a little discouraged, but a lot of the Backstage submissions would answer back after I watched some of their reels. I would reach out to people and say, hey, I'm going to give you a side from the film. If you don't mind, please record it and send it to me. Or you can show up to the audition itself. Because the Backstage post went up, I believe, 2 months prior to the physical audition. So it had, so it gave people some time to plan if they're going to come or not. And I got a handful of people from backstage that came into the audition, the physical audition itself. And one of my actors came from deep in Pennsylvania, and my leading lady is from South Jersey, and they made the trip up just to audition in person, and that really helped me know exactly who I wanted on board, because that's dedication right there. So I actually fully cast the film by people that I saw in person, rather than via self-tape or something like that. So that's how I got my actors to bring it to life. Also, people just read beautifully. Every single person that is in this film, of course I had to direct them through things, but their auditions were immediately, me just going, that's it. That's who I need. That's who I want. They are perfect. So I lucked out. I really did. I lucked out with this process.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And it's a pretty ambitious film. Just like it's a war film. It's a period piece. Doing that on like the small indie level is obviously a big undertaking, because just art department alone, that's gonna either cost more, or you're gonna have to be really smart and plan really well. And costuming, obviously, getting all those little period details authentic so people buy it is huge. I'm wondering about how you put together funding for a project like that.
Well, I didn't put together funding. I reached in my pocket and said, here's a couple $1,000. What can I do? Because not that I don't believe in it, but I never had the confidence to think that anybody would give me money through Indiegogo or a Kickstarter, because, I'm not a well-known filmmaker. My company is not a big company, so I never thought to post an Indiegogo or something like that. So I reached in my pockets and I scrambled together whatever money I can, and my wonderful parents gave me whatever they can towards the project. And, I went from there, and I went through thrift shops, and I would spend hours in my basement sewing and cutting myself with these needles, trying to put patches on these jackets, and all of these websites with all of these props. So I tried to be economical in my budget, because not only were the costumes and props very expensive in the end, but I had to find the location, a perfect location that would be, that wouldn't be a modern place, that it would be very clear that it's an old house and it's on a farm and yada yada. So I had to really think about every single detail of the budget. And like any other filmmaker, or at least anyone that I know, I went over budget. So it was very difficult to get the funding for it, but it was also, I wasn't going to not create my dream because I didn't have the finances at the time,
Absolutely. So you were overseeing locations and costumes and props and set dressing, all of that stuff. You were kind of heading that up yourself. You were like literally sewing costumes yourself.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I put together I don't like to take credit for doing things, doing everything, but aside from finding the location, which my best friend, God bless her soul, she found this house for us in Millville, New Jersey. Aside from that, I did everything when it came to putting together the costumes and props. I painted a medic helmet. I put the nets over the helmets. I did the costumes. The only thing that I had asked my actors to provide were the white undershirts and their own boots, which I'm glad they all had, similar matching boots. So,
fair enough. So Major Key is in post-production now, or is it completed? Where are you at with that?
It's in post-production. I'm editing it myself as well, but I've got two of my close friends helping me with editing. Because Colors of Perception, my first big film, I gave to my film partner to edit, and it was just a nightmare for him, so I didn't want to have to do that to him this time. So I said, okay, I'll learn how to edit. I'll watch tutorials. I'll talk to people. I'll figure it out. So major key has been in post production since we wrapped, and I've been slowly editing it to make sure that it's as good as it can be. I also just finished writing two flashback sequences that I'm going to add in the film that I'm going to shoot. So it's in post, but I guess I'm opening production again because I needed these two scenes were crucial afterwards.
That happens sometimes. What are you editing in, if I can ask?
I am using Adobe Premiere.
That's what I usually use too. It's a good program. I hope it's not giving you too much trouble.
Oh, no, not at all. It's user-friendly. It's great. I was editing on Final Cut 7 prior to, and that's the best Final Cut, they tell me. But for some reason, Adobe it was a lot easier for me to handle and figure out. So I love it.
Yeah, I hear you. I made the switch from Final Cut 7 to Premiere some years back, and now I just got Final Cut X, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
I would recommend going back to 7.
We could talk about this all day. That's its own whole thing. But so what are your plans once you've got this thing all wrapped up? What are you going to do with it?
Well, right now I've got people hounding me about watching it, and all I can say to them is I want to make sure it's done. I want to make sure it's finished. But my goal right now is, optimistically, one of the big festivals will pick it up. I would love to see one of my works at Tribeca or Sundance or the Cannes Festival, something like that. That's the goal right now. So, and there's these regulations with these kind of festivals that they have to be the premiere. So I don't want to screen it and shoot myself in the foot by screening it ahead of time and then hear that it was accepted to Tribeca or something. So I'm going to hold off with premiering it until I get responses from the bigger festivals, and then after that I'm going to submit it everywhere I can. I would love to see if somebody would want to make a feature out of it, because I think the film right now, the rough cut is about 25 minutes, and as much as it fills that entire story, there is so much room for a feature within the story that I wrote. So I would love to see a feature made out of it.
Sure. You're not sure you want to be the one to make it, is the sense I'm getting, though?
No, I would love to be able to direct it and star in it as well. But, if it came down to somebody approaching me and saying Adam Wingard wants to direct your movie and he'll let you be in it, I'm not going to say no. I'll give the director's cap to him,
Sure, but preferably it would be somebody being like, this would make a great feature. Here is some money for you to make this feature with.
Absolutely.
After a successful festival run.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to play a game?
I always want to play a game, Sean.
Love games.
Do you think you can handle a game, Mike?
I can certainly try.
Well, so we like to do trivia games at the end here. And for no particular reason, I decided that we would do Julius Caesar trivia.
History?
No, just Julius Caesar.
Okay.
I don't know why Julius Caesar popped into my head recently, but
I can't imagine.
He did. I can't imagine what would drive me to that. But so just for context for you, Mike, the game's not particularly serious.
Or particularly fair. Ever.
Oh, no. It may be very unfair. Actually, I think this may be one of the fairer ones. But sometimes it's unfair. Sometimes the response or the correct answer is more about my opinion than about the truth. But I think I have a relatively fair game this time. So, all right. So Julius Caesar trivia. Excuse me. So question 1. And they're all multiple choice, just so you know. What is the name of the river Julius Caesar crossed with his legion, igniting a Roman civil war? Is it A, the Amazon, B, Susan, C, the Rubicon, or D, all of the above?
I'm going to say C, the Rubicon.
Sure, I'll go with that.
Nicole is also going to go with the Rubicon. Are you trying to cheat on your phone?
No, I'm not. I'm not
trying to
cheating.
cheat on
I'm
your
not
phone.
cheating on my phone.
Just cheating on it. The correct answer is C, the Rubicon.
Yay, we did so good, Michael. Hey, we're winning.
All right, so question number 2. Which famous ruler of Egypt did Julius Caesar install following their joint victory at the Battle of the Nile in 47 BC? Was it A, Diana of Themyscira? Was it B, Cleopatra? Was it C, Susan? Or was it D, Ptolemy?
I'm gonna actually say Cleopatra because I think that was the same time period. I might be wrong.
Okay. And
I
Nicole?
have no fucking idea. Well, I'll go with D. I don't know who
You're
that
going to go
was.
D with Ptolemy?
Is I don't know who that is.
You don't know Ptolemy.
No, who's Ptolemy?
He was a guy.
Okay.
But the correct answer is B, Cleopatra.
Hey.
I believe there was at least one Ptolemy who was the ruler of Egypt at one point.
All right.
All right, last question, number 3. When are the Ides of March, and why, in the famous Shakespeare play named after him, is Julius Caesar warned about them? Is it A, April 17th, it was his wife's birthday? B, Susan? C, March 17th, because we should all beware of St. Paddy's Day? Or D, March 15th, because it is the date of his assassination?
I'm going to go with D.
You're going to go with D, the 15th of March? Are you sure?
Yes.
But we should be aware of St. Paddy's Day, though.
Yes, we should always be aware of St. Paddy's Day.
Beware of it.
And beware. And because it has something to do with snakes, and those are scary, and I just saw
No, I just mean drunk Irish people.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Yeah, those parades, man. They get crazy.
Yeah, or drunk not Irish people. Just
Okay, I take offense to
in
that.
general, drunken people vomiting on the sidewalk. You should be aware.
You should be aware of drunken
And be aware.
vomit. Yes.
Yes. So
Yes.
that's my bet. I don't know about you, Michael, how you want to go on this.
I think I'm gonna say D because I think the Ides of March was a prediction that was told to him at some point. Beware the Ides of March, kind of thing.
Correct. So beware St. Paddy's Day. No, it is the date of his assassination, March 15th on the...
3 for 3, yeah.
Yeah, Michael got a perfect score.
I know.
We're gonna-
I softballed this one.
We'll have to email him some sort of prize since he's not here in person to get a pen you found on the floor or whatever prize.
I'll take a picture of some socks or something.
Yeah,
that's
so you've got
perfect.
that to
You
look
want some
forward
socks, some
to.
warm socks. You played a soldier. You know the value of warm socks. Come on.
That's true.
So we don't want to take up the whole rest of your day. You've been so generous with your time so far, and we are very appreciative of that. Can you tell us a little bit about what's next for you now that you're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel on Major Key?
As an artist, I never really know what's next. I'm in 2 plays at the moment. I'm in rehearsals for Rock of Ages in Jersey, and I just got cast in The Crucible. So right now, artistically, that's what's next for me. But with my company, we're shooting our sketch comedy web series that we've been shooting for a long time now called Pipsqueak and Stretch, that we are hoping we can pitch to Adult Swim because it is perfect for something like that. We just have to figure out the process because we're very green to anywhere near professional productions. So we have that, and we just had our Purple Cloud meeting, 2K17 meeting, about what we're going to be doing from now until, the end of time. So we've got some projects lined up, some things that we're writing. I'm in the process of writing a crime series that I would love to see if Netflix would love to pick it up. So we'll see. We'll see what happens,
Awesome. Yeah, best of luck with all of that. Sean looks like he has something he wants to say.
Well, I just wanted to ask, where can people find you online?
That's what I was going to ask as well.
Oh, I'm doing it.
Well, fine.
Well, you could find me online. You can find me on Facebook, Michael Robert Anderson. I don't have a page. I'm not famous, so I haven't made a page. I just have my own personal account. Michael Robert Anderson. You could find me on Instagram at MichaelRobert_Anderson. You can go on Instagram, Major Key Film, and also on Instagram, Purple_Cloud_Entertainment. I'm sure you just find it if you Google Purple Cloud Entertainment. And our website is purplecloudny.com.
Awesome. Very good.
And we are 4 Mile Circus. That's the number 4 followed by the word mile and the word circus, all is one long word. On Twitter, Instagram, Facebook,
Probably
YouTube,
other vestigial platforms we
and
won't
.com, and 4milescircus.com.
Hello, Mastodon.
We're not on those. We're not on LO or Mastodon. We're not trying new things yet. We're too old for it. We're too old to try new things yet. If you can find me on Snapchat, please don't make friends with me, or on Facebook, because I don't want to be your friend. But Nicole really does.
That's
so,
true.
We'll talk to you listeners later.
Yeah. Bye. Thank you so much for being on, Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
Thanks for having me, guys.
If you like what you heard, please subscribe to us on iTunes, SoundCloud, or your platform of choice. Please visit us at 4milescircus.com to learn about our other projects and services, and be sure to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at 4 Mile Circus.